everyone. Welcome to Starts in 5 minutes. Get your coffee, get your friends, get your seats. I want you to know you're loved and I love you. Welcome.
All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Free. I'm Ryan, and I'm the pastor here, and it's good to be with you on this Saturday evening. This is a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees, and what we do here is break the silence of addiction and create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. So welcome to all of you. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're online tonight with us or tuning in throughout the week. I say it every week and I'll say it again. You are part of this community if you're online with us tonight or throughout the week. Whatever state you're joining us from, wherever you are in your living room or sober living house or kitchen, wherever it is, welcome to Free. We're glad you're part of this community. Yeah, we can clap for that. We got a clapping crowd tonight. I love it. Listen, if you're new with us this evening, we have some little free guest bags, some welcome bags in this. By the way, raise your hand if it's your first time here. All right, we got a few of you here tonight. In this guest bag, this welcome bag, you'll find fresh roasted wagon coffee that's roasted right on site here. It'll be the freshest coffee you ever have, roasted by Wagon Coffee, Tammy Canaday, my wife, and some other women, because that goes to give women in recovery employment. So there's coffee in here. There's information about who we are. Man, we're just going to clap all night long. Let's clap. Let's make things super awkward and crazy. Hey, also, Tammy and Wagon Coffee, they're putting together Valentine's Day boxes, Valentine's boxes. In that, you're going to find her new blend. It's a Guatemalan bean, and it is called Love and Tolerance, because love and tolerance is our new code that we live by. So love and tolerance is in that. And then there's these cool sober soaps, a company called Sober Soaps, and it says, I love sober you. And I don't know, does it smell sober? It smells like what? It smells really good. You're going to want to use this in the shower. So if you get the Valentine's box, this soap is in there, and Love and Tolerance coffee. Hey, just want to ask y'all a random but not so random question, something we've been throwing around this week when I was talking to Danny. If we were to do a Super Bowl party here and show the Super Bowl on the big screen, would y'all be interested in that? All right. Not making any promises, just seeing who's interested. We're going to see what we can do, but stay tuned. Speaking of parties, coming on February 19th, we have the after party. Derek is heading this up with Karis and Stephanie. Are they here tonight, Karis and Stephanie? I don't see them, man. You're all alone on this, but this is the after service party. It's Saturday night, February 19th, 8:30. So right after the service, we're going to go on till midnight. Right here, we're going to have character artists, Chipotle for adults, pizza for kids, and this is open to anyone who wants to come. So come hang out, get to know people, because as Derek reminds me, recovery is supposed to be fun, right? We have fun in recovery. Another thing I want to let y'all know about is the yoga that is starting, trauma-informed yoga class. Woo! This is going to be led by our very own Maggie Barfoot, who is certified in all this stuff. It starts on Monday night, February 21st, 6:15, $18 to participate. And y'all, it's going to be good. It's going to be right here in this room. Is that right? Right here in this room, we're going to clear out the chairs. It's going to be good. Trauma-informed yoga. So for you yogis out there, you might dig it. This might be for you. Check it out. Hey, has anyone seen, like, I know we've got the black tarp up, kind of blocking off the kitchen, but if you get a chance, check out the new cafe. The kitchen is being built. It's coming along. We hope to do a soft opening in March and then do a grand opening in April. But it is going to be super cool. We're going to have, check it out before you leave. You can walk back there and see the progress that's being made. But lattes, espressos, nitros, grab-and-go food items. And we want to create community here. Just a meeting space for you, a space to come, safe space, a sober space. And this cafe is going to be open to the community, so stay tuned for updates. That's like really soon. That's in 3 weeks. Are we going to be ready for this? Yeah, we're ready for this. We're going to do it. All right, y'all. This week, what we're going to do tonight is wrap up our series that we've been doing for 4 weeks on what we stand for, the 4 things we stand for: authenticity, recovery, no shame, new life. And we're going to wrap that series up tonight. Then next week, we're going to start a new 4-week series on codependency. Here's a little video on codependency. Thank you, Danny Colella, for putting together that video. And listen, I want to say this. This one is for all of us. This isn't just for the loved ones of the addicts. I mean, you all know we have 3 categories here: the addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. Everyone deals with a bit of codependency. Some people deal with it a little more, but this one is for all of us. So it's going to be a fun 4 weeks. I hope you plan on joining us. Now, how we get started in this community, of course, is we celebrate together. We share the good stuff happening in life. We celebrate. We believe that God joins with us in the celebrations. So we're going to take some time and celebrate, lift up the good stuff in this community. We don't ignore the hard stuff. We just don't start with the hard stuff. But before we get into celebrations, I want to mention one big celebration. If you read the social media post or the email, I let you know that Noelle Hoelsken, our very own staff member here at Free, she's giving the message tonight. Darin, where's Darin? Darin's over here. He's our guest storyteller. We're going to get to Darin. It's all going to be powerful tonight. It's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. The big news I want to share with you about Noelle, several months ago, she approached me and said she was thinking about applying to seminary, Iliff School of Theology, where I graduated from in 2009. Man, that's showing my age, isn't it? Getting old. And she pulled some triggers recently and applied, and this week she found out that she was indeed accepted into the Masters of Theological Studies program at Iliff. So she will this fall begin pursuing theological education and life in ministry, and it's so exciting. I know she's going to say more about that in her message. So we're going to celebrate that here, and we're going to see what happens. It's going to be good. Noelle, I'm so proud of you. You're going to dig Iliff, and they're going to dig you, and this is all good stuff. So now you all got to follow that up with your own celebrations. How's that? So take 3 minutes. If you're online, take 3 minutes. Drop them in the comments. Let us know what's happening in your life, the good things, the sobriety anniversaries, babies, new jobs, new life, all the good stuff. Just slip up your hand. If you're in the house here, Derek will bring you a mic and you can say your celebration. Is that it? Let's kick this thing off. Take 3.
Hello world, wake me up to another good morning, time to go. Got that smile upon my face, 'cause there's excitement in the chase, this I know. Yeah, I'm going for the ride and find myself, I am alive, and I soar. Still I run towards the wind and let the challenge draw me in, 'cause I want more. Oh, we are all looking for adventure. We are all looking for adventure. We are all looking for adventure. living free, and I was meant to be. I'm living free.
I'm Dara, and I'm celebrating that I just got my first sponsee.
Holy moly.
Man,
A
okay.
lot of celebrations.
So it's hard to see with the lights. I know we're back on live camera now, but who said the 90 days? Oh, your dad is celebrating 90 days. Is that what you said? That is so awesome. I love when kids celebrate with us the new life that they're seeing happening in their parents and their families. Man, that's the good stuff.
That is the best stuff.
I mean, we had a lot of good stuff tonight, but that's some of the good stuff. All right, you want to kick us off, Tammy Canaday?
Sure, I will. That's a good thing to start with. Jen says, Simon, congrats on 5 years.
Yes, Saman. So for those of you that don't know what she's talking about, Saman is also on staff here, and she's up in Estes Park tonight sharing her story with the place where she got sober
Yeah.
up in Estes Park. So, man, it's just a beautiful thing she gets to do.
Miss you, Simon.
Yeah, you're going to crush it. I know you are.
We'll celebrate later this week with
Yes,
some
we will.
coffee.
Yes, we will.
Yep.
All right, Ricky, my boy Ricky down in Texas says, tomorrow I'll be reaching my goal of 1,000 days sober.
yeah.
Next goal will be 3 years. Woo! One day at a time, Ricky. We're proud of you, dude. That's awesome.
Nice job, Rick.
Thank you for sharing that with us, dude.
And Julie says, celebrating the amazing medical staff at St. Francis Hospital in Tulsa who delivered our preemie granddaughter, Aspen, good name, and is caring for daughter-in-law, Nicole, in her recovery from a stroke. There you go. That's awesome.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Julie. Welcome to the world, Aspen.
Love you, lady.
Sydney, I saw Sydney come to the back.
Okay.
She's working the tech team tonight. Sydney says, celebrating being out of the house and here at Free tonight. A week and a half ago, I shattered my right ankle and have been pretty laid up. So glad to be here. Fill up my spiritual cup. Also, shout out to my sweetheart, Bobby G. He has been an angel through all of this. So glad you all are here. So glad you're here, Sydney. Welcome to Free. Back to Free.
Thanks, Sydney, for all you do. And you show up and you still work. How about that?
Even with crutches and stuff. It's amazing.
Anthony says, me and my mom found a new home. Me and my mom are doing great. We are living life with my 2 brothers. Cool.
Way to
That's
go,
good,
Anthony. Thank you for sharing that with us. All right. Arnold says, celebrating my birthday in Vegas with my girlfriend. Sober for sure.
There you go.
Way to do it, Arnold. Way to do it in Vegas, sober.
I love it.
All right, that's all we have tonight. Thank you for the online participation. We're so glad you guys are part of this community. Thank you to all of you for letting people in to celebrate with you. There's something really sacred about that, celebrating together, and God celebrates with us. So, man, just an important part of this service, and it's always fun to do with you all. So we're going to show the What We Stand For little series video, and then Noelle's going to make her way up here to give us a message on putting all of this into action, sowing those seeds of faith and what that means for us as a community. So take a look. We created Free because someone had to stand for the addicts and loved ones of addicts who were suffering in silence, for the spiritual refugees who didn't have a place of belonging. A traditional church model doesn't create space for the conversations we know have to be had. Free is standing with those who are barely hanging on, who are longing for something new. Free is bridging the gap between spirituality and recovery. In this place, God meets us exactly where we are. This is what we stand for.
Thank you for that beautiful video, Danny Colello. I'm sure going to miss it once the series is wrapped up. But so over the last 4 weeks here at Free, we've been going over what we stand for. And when we moved into this building, we had these banners made. In the first week, Lauren Nelson kicked us off with authenticity. The second week, we had Daniel with recovery, and Karis with We Don't Do Shame, and then Lindsay Brady brought down the house last week with New Life. And so this week, we're wrapping up this series of what we stand for and how we put these things into action. How do we live into action? I spent my early to my mid-20s in a perpetual fog of active addiction. I was drowning in crippling anxiety and in depression and anger and isolation. And I managed to get myself into some pretty extensive legal trouble. But it wasn't my legal trouble that brought me to my knees. What brought me to my knees was this incomprehensible demoralization I had created within myself. Here at Free on Tuesday nights over the past couple weeks, we've been doing this Enneagram course. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Enneagram, it's a tool that's used to better understand personality traits that inform human behavior. And there's 9 types of Enneagram. 2 is a helper. A 5 is the wise person. A 9 is the peacemaker, and I am a 3. And I am the 3est 3 that has ever 3'd. And for those of you who don't know what a 3 is, it's the achiever. It's the self-starter. And whether it came to athletics or academics or my professional career, if I put my mind to something, I was going to accomplish it. And I was convinced that drinking was going to be no different. So I decided I was going to quit drinking one day, and all my problems were going to be solved. And I did. I white-knuckled it for 10 months. And the strangest thing began to occur during this time. I was just as isolated and just as depressed, just as angry and just as anxious as I was while I was drinking. I had removed the substances, but my awful behaviors were still there, and I still couldn't look in the mirror. And I thought I was destined to be this miserable person. Noelle with alcohol wasn't working, but Noelle without alcohol wasn't working either. And see, what I didn't know at the time was alcohol was not my problem. Alcohol was my solution to my problem, and I needed to get down to the causes and conditions. And that took action on my part. And these causes and conditions for me were these selfish, self-seeking behaviors rooted in fear. And I had to get down to that incomprehensible demoralization I had created. And I had absolutely no idea where to go from there or what action to take, and I had no faith that things were going to get better for me. How do we live into action? In the summer of 1935, Bill Wilson went over to Dr. Bob's house in Akron, Ohio, to stay with Dr. Bob and his wife, Ann Smith, for a summer. For those of you who aren't familiar, Dr. Bob and Bill Wilson are the pioneers, the founders of Alcoholics Anonymous. And at the time, there was no group name, there was no literature, and there was no real concrete direction for AA. It was in its infancy. And in the morning, these men would wake up, they would go to Dr. Bob's living room, and they would do their morning prayer and meditation. And there was 2 pieces of literature that these gentlemen would use most often. And the first was a piece of literature called The Upper Room. And this is a 100-year-old Methodist document, and it has daily devotionals and daily prayers in it, similar to what the Daily Reflections is for us today. And the second piece of literature that these gentlemen use most often was the book of James in the Bible. And it might have been because it's one of the shortest books in the Bible, or it might have been because of the practicality of faith, the instruction into action that's outlined in this particular book, the instruction on how to put your faith into motion. And this is one of the oldest books in the New Testament, and it's a letter to fellow believers that centers around not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. So we're going to get into James chapter 2, verse 14. What good is it, my brothers, if someone says he has faith, but he does not have works? Can that faith save him? Can that faith save him? That is one of the most controversial sentences in the Bible. Do y'all know how many sentences are in the Bible? I looked it up, I'll tell you. There's 183,400 sentences in the Bible. And out of all of those sentences, all 183,400 of them, that makes the top of the list. Why is that? It's because of that word saved. Because we don't actually know what saved means in that context. Because that context is insinuating eternal security or eternal salvation. It contradicts many other passages in the New Testament. But what most scholars believe is that that word saved that's used here is the same meaning as saved that's used in the Old Testament. This idea of salvation. And the Old Testament meaning of salvation comes from the root word of deliverance. Whenever you see the word salvation in the Old Testament, it's rarely ever dealing with eternal security, but it's always dealing with present deliverance. Deliverance from enemies or present threats. This present type of saving. So when the verse says, "Can such faith save him?" it's talking about a daily deliverance in the here and now. And if you work a 12-step program, you know all about daily deliverance. You know all about the daily reprieve. The idea that we can't stay clean on yesterday's shower, that we have to be putting in effort every single day, planting spiritual seeds of faith daily and watering them with action to maintain our spirituality, to maintain our serenity, our sobriety. And on page 85 of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it alludes to this very concept. We are headed for trouble if we do, for alcohol is a subtle foe. We are not cured of alcoholism, but what we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. And that's not just specific to alcohol. You know, it's insert unhealthy behavior here. Codependency is a subtle foe. An eating disorder is a subtle foe. Drugs are a subtle foe. Whatever it is, it applies. Can faith without action give a daily reprieve? We continue with James, verse 15. If a brother or sister is poorly clothed and lacking in daily food, and one of you says to them, "Go in peace, be warm and filled," without giving them the things needed for the body, what good is that? So also, faith by itself, if it doesn't have works, is dead. Have you ever noticed that sometimes churches give cop-out answers to your questions, your problems? Like your life is falling apart, your world is unraveling, and you get a response like, "I'll be praying for you." Or, "God is good all the time, and all the time God is good." Or, "Listen, I've read the back of the Bible, and we win, so there's no need to be sad or upset." It's not enough sometimes, is it? Of course we need to be praying, but there are situations where prayer just isn't enough. Education needs to happen. Recovery has to occur. Healing must take place, and action needs to be put into motion. And the founders of Alcoholics Anonymous thought that this was such a crucial step that they put it in the big book under a chapter titled Into Action. And on page 76, it reads, "Now we need more action, without which we find that faith without works is dead." On June 23rd, 2019, after these 10 months of dryness that I went out one day. I had a one-day relapse. And the next morning, I walked into my first meeting. And I've never been out since then. But it took me a long time to get over those 10 months of dryness that I had. See, when I walked into the rooms, everyone was talking about how much time they had. And I thought this was a no drinking contest. So I kept thinking, man, if I wouldn't have gone out that day, I would have a year by now. I didn't realize that sobriety was about quality and not quantity. And the lesson that I learned in all this is that Noelle drinking is an absolute Category 5 hurricane. But Noelle not drinking, living life with zero action, zero spiritual elegance, and just putting down the bottle and not working on my relationship with God or the maintenance of my spiritual condition, my hurricane category is the exact same as if I was drinking. See, I know what it's like when I remove the substance and I don't take any action. How do we live into action? And when I was about 27 seconds sober, the first thing my sponsor had me do was go to her house. And she told me every morning to say a prayer and to ask God to keep me sober that day. And if I had managed to stay sober that day, at night, I was supposed to get on my knees and thank God for keeping me sober. And I very sweetly, but very kindly and firmly told her that I did not believe in prayer. And I wasn't really up for this God thing, but anything else, as far as my recovery was concerned, I was probably going to do it. And she not so sweetly and firmly looked at me and said, I didn't ask you to believe in prayer. I just asked you to do it. I asked you to take the action. And I wonder how many of you tonight or online with us feel the same way. I don't get this God thing, and I certainly don't believe in prayer, and I absolutely will not step in a church. I get it. I was there. I was a spiritual refugee too, but I begrudgingly took the action, and I began to pray in the morning and ask God to keep me sober. In the evening, if I had managed to stay sober that day, I would thank him. And the strangest thing happened. These all-consuming cravings that I was having started to fade. And day by day, I was staying sober. And I'm an alcoholic. So if one prayer in the morning is working for me and one prayer in the evening, I want 2 before lunch and 1 before dinner and every moment in between. I want to maximize the effect. What I didn't know then is part of the word spiritual is the word ritual. These seemingly unrelated actions that compound into these soul-shifting experiences. See, I didn't need to believe. All I needed was enough faith in what my sponsor was saying to take the action, and that set everything into motion, laying these spiritual breadcrumbs along the way. How do we live into action? Rumi said that the cure for the pain is in the pain. And I think what he meant by this is the exact way we are meant to transform the world is learning to live fully in it without escape routes. The exact way we are to change who we are in our community and our world is first by being fully present in it, by planting seeds of faith, taking action, and keeping our mission close to our hearts. We live into action by planting these tiny seeds and watering them with works. And if I ever need a reminder of the power of planting these tiny seeds of faith and watering them with works, I just look around this room. 3 years ago, Tammy and Ryan Canaday had this crazy idea to start a church plant in their backyard in Highlands Ranch, Colorado. And they would invite a half dozen or maybe a dozen people and just pray that people would show up on a Saturday. And today I'm standing on a stage in an 11,000 square foot building, probably about 150 eyes on me and much more online. And I don't think y'all need to worry about if anyone's going to show up on a Saturday night anymore or not. If I ever need to be reminded of these tiny seeds of faith, I think about last weekend. And this woman who was crippled with social anxiety, and she had tried for months to come into this very building and she couldn't. But I watched a group of ladies from this community walk outside with her so she could come inside because she knew that we don't do shame on the inside of these doors. I've watched these tiny seeds of faith be watered by works and turn into something beautiful with 2 sober single mothers, Nicole and Kira, create an online clothing boutique from the ground up, the epitome of new life and recovery. They're not just doing it for them, but their kids are watching them live their new life. And on a more personal level, 2.5 years ago, I sat in my sponsor's living room, and I told her that I didn't believe in prayer, and I told her that I wasn't on board with this God thing. And on Sunday evening at about 9 o'clock, I submitted my application to the Iliff School of Theology. And on Monday afternoon, I'm driving to the gym and I get a phone call from them, letting me know that I had been accepted my Master's of Theology to become a pastor here at Free Spiritual Community. These tiny seeds of faith, watered by works, a little bit of action, can blossom into these beautiful things. We have a daily reprieve based off our spiritual maintenance, based off these seeds of faith that we plant and the action we take. And over the last 4 weeks, we've planted seeds of faith for what we stand for here at Free Spiritual Community. We're all in this together as addicts and loved ones of addicts and spiritual refugees. These 4 banners are our moral compass. And it's up to us to go out and water them with a little works and send them into action. So as we close, I want you all to take 60 seconds and just reflect on what is one seed of faith that you can plant this week. Thank you.
Whew. Can we give it up for Noelle Hoelsken? Yes. I'll just go ahead and find another job, and Noelle's going to take things over here. Noelle, so good to have you here tonight. Thank you for that beautiful message. You are going to crush it at ILIF, and you've got a whole community standing behind you, and it's going to be beautiful. So listen, y'all, we've got a guest storyteller in the house. His name is Darin Valdez. Do y'all know Darin Valdez? Woo! So here's the deal. Tammy knew Darin. How long have you known Darin? A few months before me, she says. And she was telling me about Darin. Oh, you got to meet Darin. He's just this great, nice guy, and you're really going to like him. You got to meet Darin. And I'm like, okay, cool. 2 months ago, somewhere around 2 months ago, I met Darin, and then I went to Tammy, and I was like, why didn't you ever tell me about Darin? Like, he's like one of the kindest, most gentle guys. And true story. I told Tammy, I said, there's something so compelling about his spirit just when you're around him. And so we sat down this week and went over his story, and it was like, that's what it is. That's what's so compelling when he shares, and y'all are going to see this, there's something so filled with humility when this man speaks and when he shares from his heart. So I can't wait for y'all to hear from one of my favorite people roaming the earth right now. Right now, I don't even know why I said that. Shoot, man. One of my favorite people on the earth, Darin Valdez. Hold on, before you come up though, I want to say this. Darin is the founder and executive director of a nonprofit organization called CAiR, which is Colorado Artists in Recovery. So it's all about art, and you're going to hear more about that. But as I walk in tonight, Isaac, 11 years old. Isaac, stand up. Isaac, come up here with me for a minute, dude. Is that all right, Mom, if he's on camera? Okay. Isaac is a painter. Dude, I mean, we're building in your program, Darin. And he painted these beautiful, I'm going to leave them up here, and y'all can check them out. This one says free. This one says amen. He did 4 of them. And they are, check that out. And on the back, I just want to read this for you for a moment. I mean, this was just too coincidental. Do coincidences happen? Come on now, God's all over this stuff. He wrote a prayer. Can I read this prayer? Actually, can you read it? Or would you rather me? Let me do the prayer. I'll do the prayer. I didn't need to preach tonight. I'll just pray. Powerful prayer for healing and comfort is what he titled it. Thank you, Lord, for you are always in control. We trust your eternal nature to be revealed in the body of the sick, to bring peace and healing. Help us in these times to rely only on your power. Amen. 11-year-old Isaac, the artist. Way to go, buddy. Proud of you, dude. I'm glad you're here tonight. All right, man. Good to have you here. Y'all, you're going to hear a powerful story from Darin tonight. This is going to be, I'm looking forward to this conversation. So help me welcome Darin Valdez to the living room. Darin Valdez. I'm glad you're here tonight, man. We got to spend some time together this morning, too.
We did.
Aurora Sober
God's
Living.
been really putting us together. He's like, you guys need to team up.
It's
So-
crazy. And can I just preface the whole thing with this? So Darin is considering, and there's some things we got to figure out, but they're considering hosting your some of your events here and getting office space here. And he said, "Is there space for what we want to do?" And I'm like, "Dude, we're going to create space for this. This is some important work you're doing in the world." And so it's not just him using the space. It's like a partnership we want to create with CAiR, Colorado Artists in Recovery. And dude, I'm so excited if everything goes through to have you here because we get to hang out through the day, drink coffee in the day, dude. It's going to be beautiful. All right, I'll stop crushing a little bit. Let me just get to your story.
I'm excited too. I'm just like, I always jump in. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And my board's like, hold up, Darin, hold up. Let's just think. Okay.
I understand the excitement, man. Sometimes I have
I'm glad I have them. Yeah.
Yeah, we need those people around us to make sure we're asking the right questions and doing due diligence. I get it. So Darin, we both have January birthdays, sobriety, clean birthdays.
Yeah, we're like a week apart.
Yeah.
Well, a year and a week. Yeah.
A year and a week. So you're 8 years clean. And just let me give some of the backstory, and then I want you to jump in.
Yeah, please do.
So you graduated from college, CU Boulder. Things were going good. You got a job at a bar. But the problem is you stayed in the bar industry for like 15 years.
There's
And
no reason to get out of when you're drinking all the time.
so you stayed there for 15 years. Somewhere along the way during that 15 years, or towards the end of the 15 years, you were introduced to cocaine and meth. So, and I point that out to say this is not a story of an alcoholic. This is the story of a recovering drug addict. You were introduced to meth and cocaine. It gave you the feeling that something in your life was missing, but it filled that void for you. Then you, all of the sudden, became homeless. You were living on the streets for 7 years, and you had this fear that said, I can't go home because my family, they won't understand, they won't accept me. I've caused too much disappointment. And then one night, as the snow was falling, you fell asleep, passed out or fell asleep, you tell me, but you fell asleep in a stairwell, and you woke up covered in snow. Tell us about that moment.
Yeah. So it's important to know that during that 7 years when I was homeless, at the beginning, meth really gave me this confidence, and it warped my mind so bad that I thought I was good. I thought I was okay. Like, as long as I could get high every day, I'd be okay. But towards the end of it, I think God had something to do with it, but I was not being able to acquire drugs. I just couldn't, the same things I had been doing over and over again. And that particular night, I had been up for like a week. And if you don't know anything about meth, it kind of turns you into a zombie, or a golem is what I like to put it as. And you get so exhausted that you just, wherever you can, you fall asleep. And I had a friend who occasionally, when it was really cold outside, he would let me stay in his apartment. And there was a stairwell that led down to his apartment. It was over by Forest and Colorado Boulevard there. And he wasn't home. And I just passed out underneath the stairs. And when I woke up, as you said, I was just covered in snow. And there was that moment, and the big book talks about it, that jumping off place, where you burned all your bridges, there's no one that will take you in, and you just wonder, what happened? How did I get here? And I remember a voice just going off in my head, and it said, Darin, I need you to get up right now. Please get up. So I was just shivering. I was so cold. And across the street, there was a hospital. And so, you know, when you're homeless, they chase you out of everywhere, right? And I had put up with that for 7 years, but I had to go in there. So I wandered in, and I tried to just go into the corner and just be out of the way, you know? And as I was sitting there, a woman from the front desk came up, and I thought she was going to say, like, you got to get out. And she didn't. She brought me some hot coffee, and she sat down with me. And one of the kindest voices I've ever heard in my life. And we eventually got to the point of, you know, where does your family live? And I told her, they live in Louisville, and I swear to you guys, 1,000 people had told me before, why don't you go home? Why don't you return home? And it's the shame. I weighed 100 pounds. I was missing teeth. How do you go home and say I'm a meth addict? I can't go home. And just then I looked up and I realized that the hospital that I had wandered into was Rose Medical. I saw the sign and it clicked. And I decided to go home. So that same friend called just a little shortly after that, and he's like, yeah, come stay with me. And I told him what happened. He's like, I can take you home if you want. So on Christmas Day in 2013, he drove me up to a home that I was hoping my parents still lived there. I hadn't contacted them in 7 years. I maybe sent one email to my mom saying, I'm gonna come home when I'm successful. You know, I didn't want to tell her anything. What I didn't know is that she had sent over like 1,000 emails to an old email address I had saying, Darin, please come home. Your sister just got married. Your brother just had a baby. You're an uncle, Darin, please come home. We miss you. So I'm pacing in front of the house. He drops me off, and he made me some peanut brittle, so I got to have something to offer. And
Hold on, Darin, did you show, maybe I missed it, did you share the significance of Rose Medical Center?
Yeah, it was the hospital I was born in.
Whew, come on. Man, you left out that important detail.
Yeah.
New life, man.
I realize now that, like, those last months, God had been circling me around to get to that point. Like, that was the neighborhood I was hanging out in. I didn't share with you, my mom, I guess, when I was a baby, we lived in that same neighborhood that I was circling around in Capitol Hill. So, where was I at?
What? So you went home, and then that was Christmas Day.
I'm pacing in front of the house. Like, I don't even know if they still live here. How do I go up to the door? And I looked like somebody had sucked my soul out with a straw. You know, just skin cheeks and just horrible. And I almost didn't go in, but I finally went up and rang the doorbell. And brothers and sisters gathered to the door, and everybody was so excited and happy to see me. And they parted, and my mom was there, and she's just crying tears of joy, you know. And we sat and we had dinner, and we did Christmas, and the whole time I'm like, wow, so uncomfortable. And after dinner, they're like, well, Darin, you know, you can stay here, you're fine. And I said, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you, I made a commitment, I have to get back to Denver. And I left. And the truth of the matter is I just could not handle that much love. And I had to go get high. And soon after, the well dried up, could not get high at all.
You couldn't find drugs, right?
I couldn't find drugs.
You went back to your old stomping grounds.
I had millions of ways. I was a really good dumpster diver. Really good dumpster diver. And I took pride in it. I used to say, opportunity is only a dumpster away. You know?
That should be our new tagline here.
Yeah, right. And literally, the streets got dark, and the big book talks about you know, boy whistling in the dark, and that's what I was. So I called home, and I was like, can I come home? And she's like, of course. So my dad wasn't real hip on that idea at all. I realized later when I did my 9th step that my dad lost his father and his brother to alcoholism. I knew something about it, but I didn't know that was why. And so he was really angry. But I got home, and my mom, you know, she's like hinting at treatment, and I'm like, I don't know what treatment is, but I wasn't going to go to treatment. I told her I had a plan. I've got this plan, Mom. I'm going to get this job, and I'm going to do this. And I was rambling. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. And not even looking at her. And And I looked back over at her, and she's just got her head in her hands, and she's crying like tears I've never seen my mom cry, like really deep tears. And she said, you know, Darin, the mother's not supposed to see her, not supposed to bury her son. I'm not supposed to watch you die. That's not the way life's supposed to work. Next morning, my dad put my stuff out on the porch, and he said, I love you, but you can't stay here. Well, Mom kept reaching out, and she helped me find a treatment, Denver CAiR's. If none of you know it, it's quite an environment.
Some know it.
Yeah, sober-seeking treatment. I showed up at those sliding glass doors, and they put me in the drunk tank, and I was terrified. You know, I wanted to get sober, but I got a guy thrown up next to me here. I got some guy rambling about something that somebody stole over here, and so the next day, the only way I could find peace was drawing. Like, just keep my head safe. And but I went up to them and I said, I'm supposed to be in treatment. I want a bed. And they said, nope. You got to be here for 5 days so we can see if you're serious. And I told them, I'm seriously going to leave. And I left. My mom called. How are you doing?
Your mom's played a big part in your story, huh?
Oh, yeah. She was my higher power when I first started.
Yeah.
How can someone that you hurt so badly never give up on you?
By the way, this dude told me yesterday when you were sitting right there and I was sitting right here, he said, my favorite story in the Bible, the story I resonate most with, is the story of the prodigal son.
Yeah.
Coming home.
Yeah, I realized the guy, like, that story is exactly what happened to me. I pissed away everything. All the, you know, I had a college degree. I had tons of friends and family, and I gave it all away for drugs, for meth. And I remember I have a really good friend named, his name is Tony, and I was sitting on the mall asking for change. And my friend Tony and his friends walked by, and I turned my head and I walked around the corner so he wouldn't see me. Like a total way to get out of the mess I was in, and I went in the alley to get away from him. And that's what shame does to you. It creates this huge cavern between anybody that can help you. And inside your voice, it's like, they will never forgive me for that. How could they? I'm a horrible person.
So Darin, you wound up at the sobriety house.
Yeah.
Sobriety house. Sobriety date, clean date of January 2nd, 2014. You got a sponsor. You told me your younger brother actually paid for you to stay there, and how that saved your life.
Yeah. So the sobriety house called me. I called tons of places, and it's ridiculous. Treatment's $60,000, $30,000. And my mom said, I'm sorry, Darin, I can't afford that. But sobriety house called me. They said, we got a bed for you. We got a grant, and if you can come up with $400, we got a bed for you. And I didn't have $400. And my brother, I talked to my mom, and he flew out from Minnesota. My little brother. I'm the oldest of 10 children. 9, you know.
Bless your mom.
Yeah.
And dad.
Yeah. So my little brother flies out from Minnesota, and he said, I'm gonna help you out, but I need you to. We're gonna go have dinner first. And we went to dinner, and he said, you just got to promise not to leave. That's all I ask. And that's what I needed, because when I got into treatment, it was scary. I didn't know, how am I going to stay sober today, let alone like 30 days? You must be crazy. But I walked in the back door of sobriety house, but it's the wrong door to go in. Obviously, that's a great way to go. And I walked into the kitchen, and there's a guy cooking there, and he's got this shirt on. His name is Gabe, and he's got this shirt on that says, sober. And I'm like, this guy's freaking nuts. Guess who ends up being my sponsor? God's got a great sense of humor. Yeah, in those 30 days, I woke up. I had a lot of really interesting spiritual experiences. I'll tell you the story about the pigeons one day. But this sponsor told me, you know, I get to create a new relationship with my higher power. Because the word God, I saw that on the wall, and I was like, God's never going to forgive me for all the things I did when I was high. And these are bad things. And I was wrong. I was completely wrong. God was just waiting for me to come home, just waiting for me to turn around and start walking towards him or her or whatever it is. But this whole new relationship. So he said, Darin, I want you to go out tonight. And it was right after we did our third step. He goes, I want you to go out tonight and I want you to shout out into the universe. I don't know who you are or what you are, but I need your help. And I swear to God, a bus goes down First Avenue, and on the side of the bus it says, you see, it works.
That's awesome. So, Darin, the other day I asked you which, because we're wrapping up this series, and I said, as you look around this space and you read these values, what we stand for here, I said, which one speaks to you the most? And he immediately said, new life. Mm-hmm. Why does that? I mean,
authenticity really spoke to me. They all speak to me, and that's what I love about this community is I needed something that matched spirituality and recovery in a way that I learned it in AA. And the way that they taught me that this higher power is not this judging thing. And the reason I chose New Life is because since the day I got sober, I have not had to worry about where I'm going to lay my head. My first thing on my gratitude list is a pillow, and a place to put my things that they're not going to get stolen. You know, just food. I've never had to worry about any of these things, and these are just the basic things. But I swear to God, like God he's been building this thing for me. And he's given me these things that I need, but I didn't know I needed. The first thing he gave me was that relationship back with my dad and my mom. You know, 9 months in recovery at Sobriety House, they're like, Darin, you know, we love you, but this isn't a permanent solution. You know, it's time to leave the nest. And I applied at a bunch of sober livings and I couldn't afford them or it didn't work out. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Because everybody's getting everything back, cars, girlfriends, apartments, but not Darin. And I'm going to more meetings than anybody. I'm doing all these things. And my dad shows up that weekend. Out of randomly. They didn't call him or anything. He said, I'd love for you to come home. So for the next couple of years, I stayed with my folks. And what I didn't realize was that God was helping me repair that relationship first, because that's what I needed to grow. This whole last 8 years has been this revelation. More will be revealed, and he just gives me little pieces at a time, because he knows that if I look at the big picture, I'll get scared. I won't walk forward. But the little guys like to call them M&Ms, or you remember in E.T. where he had the little candies? That's kind of the way God treats me. Little pieces of candy, piece of candy, piece of candy. And where it's ended me up is here. I'm trying to go to Europe. I got to go to Italy. I put a bucket list in my first 30 days. They just created a bucket list. Meet the Dalai Lama, meet the Pope. Go to Venice, all these things that I'm like, I'm not going to get that. And I literally have done all those things. And it's all been so obvious that God was giving it. So that's the message I have to deliver is if you're just starting this journey, oh my God, it's so wonderful. But there are going to be times when you're going to get scared. But those times that you're scared are leading right up to something beautiful. Just before speaking, I was terrified, and I speak all the time. When something really means something to you, you're going to be terrified. But when you walk through it, that's how you build faith.
Man, y'all, would it not be so good to have Darin here on the daily? Come on now. Speaking of, will you just give us the 2-3 minute version of how'd you start CAiR, Colorado Artist in Recovery, and what's it about?
So part of my journey was getting to join an organization called Cross Purpose, which is an amazing organization in Denver. They help people get careers, through building them up. And so I was a graduate of that program. And so I was going back as an ally and as a mentor. And the CEO of that organization started a thing called the Change Agency. He said, Darin, I want to create another level of leadership in our community, people that have actually walked through the paths that they're going to help solve. Do you have an idea? And I was like, God, this is awesome. This is so, and I had nothing. And then I remembered about 3 years of my recovery, I was living with my parents, and I had severe depression. And I walked home, and I went downstairs, and I got on my knees, and I said, God, I'm doing everything you asked me to do. Why do I feel so depressed? Why do I feel so bad? I went to bed, and the next day I woke up, and I hear violins everywhere I went. Like I heard on my Pandora station, beautiful violin music at the coffee shop, at the grocery store, everywhere I go. I'm like, what is going on? So I went to a meeting called Artists in Recovery at York Street. And I chaired that meeting, and I said, you guys, I don't know what's going on, but God's talking to me. Like, and I don't understand what he's trying to say. And a woman approached me after the meeting. She goes, Darin, I teach violin. Do you want to learn? And I said what a lot of us say when something beautiful is presented to us. I'm too old. I don't have enough. I can't afford a violin. I don't deserve that. She said, I didn't ask you that. She goes, we're going to go after every meeting. I'm going to teach you how to play violin. And I have another violin my mother gave me. So she took me and she taught me how to play Mary Had a Little Lamb and the scales, and it sounded horrible. I was like, violin's really hard to learn. But something about her, she was like, keep practicing. So I would go out in the middle of Wash Park, and I would play these awful strings. And a woman came up to me, and she said, I thought she was going to get really mad for me disturbing the peace. And she said, my father just passed away, and he played the violin. And I wanted to thank you, because you helped me remember him. And another week I'm practicing, and when I was a kid, I always liked those guys on the mall that would have their violins open. And a little kid drops 4 quarters in my little thing, and to me, that's God saying, keep going, keep going.
So in 2018, you started this organization. You do recovery.
We started with one music class. I presented this idea. I got $4,000 to start it through Change Agency, through this incubator program, and we started with one class, 8 people, brave souls, with a friend of mine that plays piano, and we called it Speaking the Language of Music. And he taught them how to play the piano and chords, and how to tie their story and their emotions to the music. And then we did a songwriting class, and then we did an art class, and people just kept coming. And I tried to give up on this thing like twice, but people kept sending me money.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And then the Caring for Different Foundation last year gave us $165,000. And it was because I told them my story. And we're just going to keep doing this. We have so many wonderful creative expression is such a wonderful way to get back to that part of you that you thought you lost, discovering like this piece of you that you thought you had to let go of. Recovery can feel like a treadmill sometimes. It's got to be fun. You got to discover new parts of yourself continuously. So we're going to be doing singing, we're going to be doing dancing, we're going to be doing art, music, creative meditation. Maggie's going to do a class for us. Yeah. But God will keep bringing you the things that you need. And the person that spoke last week said that all you have to do is keep walking forward, and God will bring you everything you need. It is so absolutely true.
I love it, dude. Now, here's the thing about New Life. Grace, compassion, love, forgiveness, these are the things that are so freely given, and they're the things that set us free, and the whole thing starts with grace. Mm-hmm. Did you bring your violin tonight?
Did.
Could you do a little Amazing Grace for us?
Yeah, so.
Darin Valdez, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, so I don't, this is usually my thing to do with just me and God. We go to the park and we hang out and we play. And when I first learned, she goes, well, now that you know some basics, what do you want to learn? And I said, I want to learn Ave Maria. She goes, whoa, 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 whoa. Why don't you start with this song? Just put it in here like this? Yeah. Okay. would not help my relationship here if I broke all your stuff. Okay. So, one of the most important things about your recovery is identifying your fears and walking through them no matter what. Being in front of people playing a violin, the first time I did it, it was like this. Your hands shake, everything. And what we try to teach our students is that that's the part of you that needs to come out. So this was the song that she asked me to learn. And I'm a little out of practice, but we're going to do it anyways, okay? Okay, here we go.
Thank you, Darin Valdez on the violin. Thank you for your story, man. So grateful. What a powerful night in the free community. Well, how we close things down is we share heartaches together, because that's part of being community. Sharing our stories together. I mean, that's what we do here. That's like shame falls to pieces when we get open with who we are, what's going on, and their stories. And so we take 3 minutes. If you're new with us, I'll just tell you how it works. The same way celebrations work. We lift up the heartaches, because you weren't created to carry this stuff alone. You suck at carrying these burdens alone. They're too heavy. They're too big. You have a whole community here that is lifting you up. God joins with us in these heartaches. God walks with us, with you. But we've got to articulate it and put voice and words to it. So if you're online, take 3 minutes, drop them in the comments. The burden you're carrying, how we can pray for you, how we can encourage you, how we can lift you up, what text messages and Facebook messages you need to be lifted. And if you're in the house, Derek's got the mic. He'll bring you the mic. Same way we do with celebrations. So take 3 minutes. And let's heartache together, shall we? found a solution. All right. Is anyone joining me up here tonight? D, you will. Come on now. So we're going to join with our online community.
Yeah.
There's a monitor. You take the first one.
Thanks, bud. Kylie, couldn't say this out loud without crying. My mom leaves to see her mom, who she hasn't seen in a year. My grandma has severe dementia. Prayers for peace and comfort. Also extremely close with her too. Kylie, definitely lifting you up. Prayers for you and love for your family.
Absolutely. Rick says, continued healing from my wife's death. Rick, I'm glad you're here, dude. Glad you're part of this community.
Picking you up for sure.
Yeah, prayers for you.
Caroline, I was sober for 8 years after a liver transplant. I've recently started drinking again. I need prayers to stop before I die. Caroline, you are not alone. And there's plenty of people that you can reach out to here, but lifting you up, because I know what that's like. I can
Yeah, and you
empathize.
ladies in the house, reach out to Carolyn. Show her some love.
Amen.
Show her the way. Ricky says, losing loved ones is hard. Prayers for you, my friend, for strength in this time.
Amen, Ricky.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Ricky.
Is that Rosie?
Rosie.
Rosie, I pray for my son, Edgar, 23, going through tough times right now. Rosie, lifting up you and your son, hoping that his tough times become stronger soon.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Rosie. And we're going to stop there. D, thanks for joining me up here, brother. So I say it every week. Thank you all for your generous giving, your donations here in this community that keep this community going. If you feel compelled, called, inspired to give in this community, I want to let you know on your way out, there's a box right there that says giving on it. You like that? We made it really simple, giving. And there's also one just outside these doors. And truly, this community is growing and thriving and so many cool things happening in here. So giving is one of the ways that we get to be a part of things here. And if you're not the cash type of person or check type of person, there are 3 ways to give online. You can download the app. It's free. It's called Free Spiritual Community, and you can give there 1 time or 2 times or multiple times, weekly, bi-weekly, however you want to do it. You can also go straight to the website, freespiritualcommunity.com/give. And do the same thing there, safe, simple, and secure. Or you can text the number on your screen and give that way. And we are grateful for your giving here. It allows the mission of breaking the silence of addiction, the storytelling, and creating space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. It allows this mission to keep on thriving in the world, because y'all know the community needs it. The world needs it. So thank you for being a part of that. Brett, make your way up front, my dude. Yeah, let's clap for that while Brett makes his way up front. Derek's going to give you a mic, because here's the thing about Brett. I said it 4 weeks ago. Brett said he was a little nervous to pray, but he was working on praying more. He was nervous to get in front of people. So I said, Brett, you know what you need to do? Come up on stage and pray for us. And here Brett is. Dude, and I've just got to say, to watch this man's journey in sobriety has been one of the most inspiring things I've been a part of. So truly, dude. And I told you all about the water. The reason you have water in the refrigerator when you get thirsty here is because this dude goes to the store every single week, buys the water, and brings it in. And he's always texting me saying, Pastor, I'm bringing more water today. And I'm like, great, Brett. I love you, dude.
That's how I keep this fancy physique.
I love it, dude. Only you could say that.
Which prayer are we doing?
Yeah, let's pray, because I don't want you to pass out up here. All right, Brett, why don't you take us out? If you forget this
We're doing
prayer,
the serenity prayer.
let's do the serenity. If you forget it, because sometimes the mind goes blank, it's going to be on the screen for you.
Where's the screen?
It's right behind you, dude.
Oh, okay.
All right, should we
Everyone
invite people to open
together.
their hands? You do it. You tell us what to do.
God,
God,
grant me the serenity to accept the things I
we
cannot
cannot
change.
courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. My free brothers and sisters, this week, may you go in grace and peace and plant those seeds of faith, Put this stuff into action. It's not just to give us a better life. It's to make the world around us better, to participate with the work that God is doing in us and through us and all around us. So go plant those seeds, put it into action, and go in all kinds of grace and peace, because God is always with you, and we will see you next week.